In previous videos, we talked about finding lessons in the NUITech Snowflake lesson library, but in this video, we're going to talk about how you can edit and use your editing skills to even create your own lessons throughout the NUITech Snowflake library. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and go to my lesson activities, which remember are lessons that you have either played, edited, or created in the past. And I'm going to walk you through what editing one of these lessons looks like. So for example, I could come into this is the prime or composite lesson. And here in my lesson activities area, I am going to see the edit lesson activity button, which will take me directly into the edit template. So the really cool thing about the NUITech Snowflake lessons is they all have a template to use that you can use whenever you're editing and whenever you're creating, and everything is just done throughout the template here. The templates throughout the different lesson activities are similar, but each one has its own slight differences. So for those reasons, we'll briefly talk about what it looks like here for this particular lesson activity, but please know that every lesson activity functions very slightly different. So starting with just an overall thing to know with all of the different lesson activity types is whenever you are in edit mode, at the very top, you do have the option to change the lesson activity name. So if I wanted to take this lesson and switch it from prime and composite to even or odd, then you have the ability to do that really easily. We are in the manage content area right now. And in the manage content area, again, this is going to be the template that you fill out that creates the fancy lesson activity that is previewed over there on the right-hand side. So for this particular activity, I'm going to use the template to help me see where everything is located. So in this first line right here, I have the words prime numbers. So I could see in my lesson preview over here on the right-hand side that prime numbers is actually one of the groups that we're doing the sorting activity with. So if I wanted to change that to odd numbers and click away, then you can see that my preview does automatically update as soon as I click outside of that text box. So if I wanted to do odd numbers, looks like I'm still in good shape with all of those. Keep in mind whenever you're in this manage content area that you might see some options for backgrounds, you might see some options for sound or for audio clips. So keep that in mind if you want to spice things up a little bit within your cards that you have in your lesson activities area. If you ever want to delete one of your content pieces, then you're going to click on the minus sign and that will delete it. And then if you need to move things around, then you can use this move tool to either rearrange the order or you can even move to different groups. If you needed to add more content cards, then I would click on the create content, and then that is going to create me another row that I can add into my appropriate groupings over there in the preview mode. And like I said, remember, please, please, please remember that all of the activity templates look very slightly different. So I would strongly encourage you to edit lessons. We've taken this lesson and we've gone from prime and composite to even and odd. But I could make this grouping activity anything that I want it to be. It doesn't matter that it started as a prime and composite lesson, but the template already filled out is super helpful because then you know where everything appears once it's in the activity, and then you just have to change the words or change the pictures to match whatever content it is that you need. So for those reasons, I would always recommend editing a lesson that's already created before creating from scratch. But I will show you that the create from scratch option is there for you if you choose to go that route. So something else to keep in mind is with all of the lesson activities, you're going to see this section over here on the bottom right-hand corner. And this is going to be your font options. So you do have different font options. You have the size of your font, the color of your font, and then whether or not you want your font to have a drop shadow. Keep in mind that while this XXL size font looks great in preview mode, if I go to open up this game and play it on the ClearTouch panel, it may be perfect. It might be too big. It might be too small. So you can always come back in and super quick adjust the font as you need to. As far as background theming goes, Snowflake does give you several options to play around with to make these have a really fun background. You'll notice that the lesson creator of this activity did use a custom background. If you don't like the custom background, if it's on a lesson activity that you found, then you can simply X that out, and then you can either add your own custom background, or again, you can choose from one of those pre-populated ones. And then you do have several gameplay options here. Okay, that's pretty similar amongst all of the lesson activities. The other thing that's really similar amongst all of the lesson activities area is your lesson activity info button. So once you click on that button, you have the option to edit the lesson description or to create a lesson description. You can add a link to a video. So in this case, on this particular lesson, this YouTube video is going to play before the lesson activity starts. So students would watch the video and then they would complete this group's activity. You can do a YouTube search right here through this search button, or you can import as well. Another great feature that you're going to have is there is the option to specify a start point and or an end point of that YouTube video. So maybe if you don't want them to watch the whole entire thing, if you just want them to watch maybe a 20-second clip so that they have a reminder of the information that they need to be successful before doing the groups or the lesson activity, then you have the option to do those as well. In the finding lessons in the community library video, we talked about filtering and how if those were not selected by the content creator, then if you searched by filters, then they would not show up. This is the part that I was talking about here. So this activity is filtered to age group 10 to 12. So if I searched for this lesson in the library for ages 6 to 7, then this lesson activity would not come up. So if you wanted to edit any of those, then you could do that as well. You do have the ability to add a PDF document. If you wanted to add a PDF document or any sort of web links to go along with this activity, and then you can see the keywords that you may choose to edit, and then you can add your standards here if you would like to add your standards. Okay, you'll notice back up at the top that you do have the option to show the description of this activity before it is played. So if you wanted kids, this to be directions for kiddos, then this could also be a place where you put directions for kiddos as long as you toggle that switch to be turned on. So now my edited lesson is appearing in my lesson activities, and I could go back into my NuiTech Snowflake software on my ClearTouch board, and I could play that through the lesson activities. I could send it to student devices, or I could even play it through Snowflake.live if I wished. If you wanted to be adventurous and if you wanted to create a lesson completely from scratch, then you have the Create tab up here at the top where you could create your lesson activity. And if we went into that same type of lesson activity as we were just in the edit mode, we would select groups and then notice that you have nothing to start with. It is a completely blank template. There's no name, there's no information, there's no content. So that's why I, again, strongly encourage you to edit lessons first, get really comfortable with how they work, how they function, where everything goes, before you start creating completely from scratch. When you're creating your lessons completely from scratch, you're having to figure out what exactly a group is for this particular lesson activity, and then what exactly the content is. So again, keep in mind with editing, you have that template where it's already filled out, and then you can just edit those to meet your content specific needs. Real quick, I want to touch on what to do if you pull up a lesson activity directly on your ClearTouch panel and you need to make a quick edit. So for instance, in this case, I am on my ClearTouch panel and you can see that I cannot see the full cards for two of these cards just because my font size is too big. So in the event that something like that happens, you can just go down to your cue or to your hook menu, and you do have your edit options directly on your panel as well. And you can just adjust the font size or adjust whatever it is that you need to adjust directly on your board. And then you can click on play, and then you can see that that makes a big difference. So you have options in Snowflake.live and options directly on your panel, because remember that those are syncing to each other. As always, if you have any questions about editing or creating these NUITech Snowflake lessons, we are more than happy to help you here in the Department of Digital Learning. If you will please put in an Eduphoria support request, we can do a Google Meet with you, or we would be happy to come meet with you in person, or we could even give you a call on the phone if that's what you prefer. Whatever means of support that we can provide to help you be successful in using these excellent lesson activities for your instruction, we are more than happy to provide that support for you.